I'd say the fire has been there, for a long time. And if anything, I think my confidence in owning, the spaces and the opportunities that I have is only grown with time. But the idea of, growing up, one thing that my parents always said to me is, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I feel like I've been just so blessed in many aspects of my life and career, having tremendous opportunities, to study at Washington University in St. Louis, where I did my undergrad, spend time abroad, working on Wall Street. I mean, all of these things that many folks do not have the chance to do. And so that fire really comes from like, look, I have a seat, I'm in this room, I have to make the most of what I've been given and the opportunities I have to show up and make sure that, I'm really taking advantage fully. So I think that, kind of those roots, and some of the adages from my parents are at the core there, but that's really where it all starts.
So, Erin, so many of us look at the role that you have and we think, my God, there's no better role for a woman in this country right now than the kind of change you're making. How did you get to this job?
Yes. Well, I have the exact same. Sometimes I'm looking around like, wait, me? Am I here at Pivotal Ventures? And pinch myself every day because it is a truly tremendous platform that we have here and that our principal has set up in founding this organization. But for me, it's a not too, I'd say, exciting story in some ways how I found how I find myself here. I'd say I always had this passion for wanting to do well and do good. And frankly, earlier in my career, sort of saw that as the thing that I did in my free time and volunteer work after hours. And, the very traditional kind of finance and Wall Street path didn't allow for that. Almost 20 years ago, when I was an analyst at Goldman Sachs, there was a much brighter line between the pure financial interests and the social and impact space. And the latter was really, how I spent my spare time. And I think for me, I've always been a curious person, someone who loves to ask questions, dig into problems, exploring new products and ideas. So I'll also say that I don't think, if I were honest with you, I didn't know that this was a job doing what I did when I started my career. I'd be hard pressed. Maybe there are out there now finding, young people, young women that say, I want to be an investor, or I want to allocate capital on behalf of wealthy individuals and institutions. I didn't know what that was, but found myself in these roles and opportunities. And, from there, kept trying to, achieve greater alignment and harmony with sort of my values and my purpose and what I was doing with my professional time. And so when I was at Harvard Business School, that was a really great time for reflection, stepping forward into the next phase of my career. And the Social Enterprise Club is one of the largest clubs on campus there. So I joined that, and I was just seeing more opportunities to align my values and my professional interests. I think you have those spaces where you find kind of like-minded travelers, as I call them, like how we were saying, Julie, I haven't known you that long, but when you connect with people who have a similar passion to you, that's so energizing. And you say, well, wow, yeah, she's doing it or he's doing it. I can try that. I can try that too. And that's part of what led me to Cambridge Associates after getting my MBA, was the firm's commitment to social and impact investing, serving, many philanthropic institutions and families that were aligning, again, their values and their investments. So I was able to lean more into that work. And when the call came to join Pivotal, I think it was, sort of the right experience that I had at the right time and inflection point for the organization as we were continuing to build and scale our investment strategy. So I'd say I was on this path that sort of prepared me to be here. But if I was perfectly honest, I didn't set out after college saying, I'm going to work for Melinda Gates one day and manage her investments.
Right. Well, I think that's often the moral of our lifetime stories is like, I was in the right place at the right time. Obviously you're extraordinarily prepared and its values aligned. There's a million reasons why it's perfect for everybody involved. But yeah, you're so humble, Erin, though. You're such a spectacular. Your historical commitment and in seeing how you scaffolded your career is a lesson for so many people. And my kids are 27 and 30, and I keep talking to them about like, you're building the foundation now, but you need to get to that place where you're aligning your values and your work to truly be in that sweet spot. So you just mentioned the strategies at Pivotal. Can you tell me a little bit more, like what is that strategy and why is it unique right now in the market? What's different?
So we're on a mission at Pivotal Ventures to bring more opportunity and equality to people in the United States. And gender is a huge component of that mission and the impact that we're trying to drive. Our principal, Melinda, has been a long time advocate for women and girls, and really stepped back in founding Pivotal and saying, I want an organization that can tackle these challenges with a tremendous amount of flexibility in how we do that. So what does that mean when we talk about advancing women's power and influence, which is the world that we want to see and live in? That's getting more women in positions to make decisions, control resources, shape policies and perspectives as it relates to their home, their workplace, their community, their capital, their finances as well. So I like to say Pivotal is not traditional philanthropy in the sense of how it's often defined. We do deploy philanthropic capital out of our organization, but we also see investment capital as an incredibly important lever to pull to drive social impact. So we're investing in funds and companies that are led by women and that are building and innovating in game-changing ways that will make, our world a better place for you, for me, my daughter, your kids, grandkids, all of the above. And, we're trying to center women and girls of color and magnifying the impact that their contributions can have, getting more women into public office broadly, supporting a modern caregiving system for American families. I mean, these are all the issues that we're
Can I just tell you, you're literally defining how women lead. Everything that you just said is like, that is our community's mission. So this is so beautifully aligned.
Yes.
If we're in those seats of power and influence, everything changes.
Yeah, totally. And if you don't have a diverse group of people controlling, accessing, and benefiting from investment capital, the same mistakes, if you want to call them, will just continue, and we won't be realizing the true potential for our economy and for all Americans, right? Like this idea that a small subset of people are the only ones that can build game-changing companies is false, right? And I mean, Julie, you know all the stats. I don't have to quote them back.
Well, but I think for our audience, it's not a bad. What are your favorite?
No. Yeah, well, there are so many, but women founders are overlooked, specifically in venture. Only 2%. That number has just been stubbornly stuck there. Funding has gone to female founded teams. PitchBook puts that report out every year. I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest headlines, but the fact that, that 80, 90, close to 100% of capital is only going to one type of founder, and you peel back, the layers for women of color, Black women, Latina, Indigenous, it's just smaller and smaller and smaller. And, I think, again, data shows that when you have a more heterogeneous group of people making decisions, you have better outcomes, right? So we want to correct for some of these failures that the market is seeing and unleash new solutions by investing more in women.
So do you have one that's your favorite? Do you have one that is like, this is the one that I really pushed hard to get over the threshold, or
in terms of investments, or
an investment that you feel like this was my baby and it's winning?
It's a great question. It's almost like, I love all of my children equally in the portfolio. It is truly hard to pick. It's hard to pick just one. I mean, I would point to and some of this predated my arrival, the groundwork for the strategy. But as I mentioned, the care economy is a $648 billion market, bigger than the pharmaceutical industry. And we saw that gap and helped to incubate and anchor a fund called Magnify Ventures that's led by an amazing duo of investors, Julie Rabluski and Joanna Drake. And they're investing in technology that supports modern families across a variety of different thematic areas in that bucket, right? So I take a lot of joy in sort of having been able to help bake that cake, so to speak, and see Magnify exceed their fundraising target and be out there and now, investing in a whole host of exciting solutions. But, I think that there's some others, that we've invested in even over the course of the last year and change that have announced closes somewhat recently, like Cake Ventures, led by Monique Woodard, Chingona Ventures, led by Samara Hernandez, Lead Out Capital, led by Ali Rosenthal. I mean, all of these are women that are pushing into different segments, thematic areas, Monique and Cake investing in changing demographics, Samara looking at, at overlooked consumers, Allie investing in really gritty, under sort of appreciated founders at the pre-seed. So again, I could go on and share more examples from our portfolio, but those are, just 3 or 4 that really jump out that I, am just thrilled to see how they continue to evolve and grow their firms.